Man, Weapons was packing. I mean, it really brought the heat. It was like a bullet to the brain. Do you see what I'm doing here? Hey y'all, welcome to Real Value, where we recap, review, rate, and evaluate all things real, all things watched. I'm Cal, your horror pal, and on today's episode, we delve into Weapons. No one bring a knife to this gunfight, else you'll be sorry. Weapons is a 2025 mystery thriller horror film written, co-scored, produced, and directed by Zach Kreger, who many of you might remember from the show Whitest Kids You Know, which was a hilarious sketch comedy show that ran from 2007 to 2011. I know, that was a long time ago, the cat. Fuck! Kreger was also the writer and director of 2022's American horror thriller, Barbarian, which was a great flick if you haven't checked that out yet. Also, according to my friends over at Foot the Bill, which is a series here on YouTube where they audit horror movies and such to figure out if said villain or persons could actually afford what they're doing in such movies. So like in Saw, if Jigsaw could really afford his torture chambers and gadgets and such. It's a seriously awesome series, so go check that out if you haven't yet. But my bud Trey from the channel actually mentioned that Kreger wrote this movie, Weapons, while dealing with the grief over his friend and co-star of Whitest Kids You Know, Trevor Moore's passing. I found that both sad and uplifting, and R.I.P. Trevor. Such a tragedy, he's gone at such a young age, and the dude was hilarious. If you haven't ever seen Whitest Kids You Know, definitely check it out. And even though Kreger's start was in comedy, I honestly didn't expect so much humor in this movie. If you watch the trailer, you just don't expect that much, but it's done in such a way that it doesn't deter or take away from the film. I saw this in a packed cinema, and I do think a huge chunk of the crowd laughed at inappropriate times that weren't really meant to be humorous, but there were definitely some aspects of the film that were just plain hilarious. Saying that, I still stand by the definition of this as a mystery thriller horror film instead of what some are calling it, a mystery thriller comedy horror film. I do think that the drama in it stands out much more, and it pushes it on the actual horror side of the spectrum opposed to the comedy horror side of the spectrum. In my view, thankfully, because as many of you know, I'm much more of a fan of actual horror with a little light comedy than the reverse, in most circumstances. So what's the premise of the film? Well, at 2:17 a.m. one morning, 17 kids, all from the same classroom, mysteriously leave their houses and vanish during the dead of night. No one knows why or where they went, but because all of them are from the same classroom, fingers are pointed at their teacher, Julia Garner's character. The acting in this film, particularly by Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, was stupendous. Julia Garner's character is based in reality, and amongst all the confusion of the kids disappearing, you really sympathize with her. She just wants to know why as much as anybody else in the film. We see that she's grounded in reality. She's flawed. She's drinking every night. She's trying to cope with being dubbed the reason for, or at the least, an accomplice to the disappearances. One thing I didn't see coming in the film were the different perspectives we see throughout. Based on the trailer alone, you expect to be following along with Julia Garner's character the entire movie, but it's actually broken up into several different perspectives over the same few days. So you first get Justine, Julia Garner's character's perspective, then Archer, Brolin's character's perspective, and then Paul's a police officer, and et cetera, et cetera. I liked it and thought it was very Quentin Tarantino-like. Shh. Why y'all always want to do this when I'm recording? Ridiculous. The pacing of the flick is superb. Not once did I feel bored or find myself unattentive. It was one of those that string you along the entire movie because at its core, it's a mystery, a whodunit of sorts. But make no mistake, this is a horror movie, but I do wonder how it would feel watching it a second time through, knowing what I know now about the movie. I think that'll be an interesting exercise when I get to it. Speaking of the horror parts of the film, there were some great scares in this one. There were some jump scares of sorts, but for the most part, I found that the scares were more in the realm of making you feel uneasy and sitting there saying, nope, nuh-uh, don't think so, my dudes, rather than jolting you or you screaming from sudden loud noises and such. I'm keeping this video vague because I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the last act of the film was great. I also found this is where most of the comedy lied. That being said, it still didn't disappoint in the category of horror, and there was resolution to the film, though it also isn't all tied up in a nice, neat little bow either, which I found made it more ground in reality than not. Because when is anything in life ever just put all together nice and neat like for us in the end? It's not, because life is a sick ass joke and we're all just here to suffer and bleed and die alone and... Overall, I love this film and I give it a rating of a Real Rarity, our third one of the year, which is, well, rare. I decided to give it a rare rating instead of a real MVP rating, simply because I'm not sure how it would hold up watching it a second time through. Again, this being a mystery whodunit kind of film, of course, you're gonna know at the end, so when you watch it again, does it hit the same? But maybe it'll still be as good. Maybe you'll discover things you missed at first, or maybe it'll be one of those that isn't just as good the second go round. I don't know. Y'all tell me how you feel about that in the comments below, and about my rating. If you've seen it once or twice, how you think it holds up the second time. Give it 4 Scaredy Cals for excellent scares, jump scares, atmosphere, musical score and tone, and cinematography of the film. Okay, that's it for me today, folks. Remember to be nice to each other, and if you can't do that, at least don't be a dick. Peace. Hey, bitches. Why you want to meow through my whole recording? Come here. Is it you want to see the people?
So what's wrong with the system? Well, let me tell you my story.
Loudest cat I've ever had in my life.